Hello, and welcome to Guys Dealings with Feelings, a podcast focused on men's health and emotional awareness. Jason, a licensed therapist with over 18 years of experience, and I, being profoundly affected by the death of my son, share grounded conversations and practical insights to help men navigate modern life with clarity and intention. So today we're going to try and tackle fear. The title I got here is The Real Reason Not Taking Action. Hey, what's going on, Jay?
What's up,
So
man?
this is, if you've been listening all season, this is something that Jason kind of brings us back to a lot. Points out to me where, well, I hear what you're saying, but really what you're discussing is fear. So it's not that we're struggling with action; we're struggling with the fear, and the problem. Most of us don't recognize it as fear. Like I'm saying, Jason's having to point it out to me on a regular basis. So we're overthinking, or we call it waiting for the right time, or being logical or realistic. Underneath all that, it's fear of failure, of judgment, of getting things wrong. And if you don't understand how it's showing up, then it's going to keep us stuck. So while convincing ourselves that we're being smart, uh, we're not. We're just in a stuck position that we're going to stay in. So today we're breaking down fear, what it really is, how it's controlling our decisions, and a way to move forward in spite of it. Jason, I know this is I, I, th- I don't know that I'm not going to say you've convinced me by any means, but I feel like fear and love are kind of like the two core things that we come with uh, our operating system. So it's kind of born in us with a bunch of other instinctual stuff. And, a lot of times we boil things down to those two things. Most times, we do. And so, you know, I is it is fear, it's not really that it's the event we're afraid of, it's the outcome, right? That we're afraid of what's going to happen after whatever it is that's got us fouled up. So kind of take us on a little walk on that. Like why is fear embedded in us? I mean, I've got an idea. It's because there were tigers walking around, but why is it embedded? And then how is it infiltrating all these things? And why are we covering it up and not just seeing it as fear, but instead seeing it as all these other things covering it up? I mean, and then we think, well, hell, I'm going to go tackle anxiety, or I'm going to go tackle depression. I'm trying to tackle these other things, and I know they're just those are tentacles, and they have their own place. But really, if it comes down to, I'm anticipating a negative thing occurring as a result of something else. Always anticipating. It's always in the future. Uh,
Yeah,
I
right.
so what's going on there?
Yeah, it's a
Please tell us in 10 words or
what's going
less.
on? Man, let me this is what stood out to me first. If we say a lot of us might have heard that love and fear are the sort of two, it's either love or fear. It's really kind of metaphoric. It's metaphorical in a way. All right. And it's not talking about something that most of us are generally familiar with. And like even love. So if that's being if that's being alluded to, that everything is love, we're made of love, everything is love. It's not it's not a feeling we're familiar. It's not an actual embodied conscious experience of unconditional love for ourselves, really. It's not something that we experience easily, right? So just take those two words. If they're not what we think they are, they would be referring to something very different than where,
Can I, and I hate to stop you,
please.
on what you just said about love, is that kind of it's a lack of understanding, and so we really can't even grasp it, and so we don't know experience, but we get glimpses of it. Think child born, uh, finished a huge goal you've worked your whole life towards. whether graduating, some
Yes.
it's
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that as like a you get a taste of it, and then you're kind of everything else has got conditions around it, and we're
Yeah,
always fighting through the bullshit.
that's
Is
a
that right?
good word, yeah, so what we're actually looking for is unconditional, and for us, that technically, you could say, mechanically, that the lack of experiencing that for us has to do with the past and unprocessed past. So, and and it's a part of a variety of systems, that talk about how to work through what we haven't processed in the past, right? And how to have an experience in life that is not conditioned by the past. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And at the level of feeling, that involves us experiencing life in a lighter and lighter where it just feels lighter, less pressure.
Lighter equals better. Get the heavy off.
Yeah, that's the
That's what you
idea.
mean? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You could say that the past represents heavy, you know,
Mhm.
um, uh, because the past represents undigested life energy. So just like a big ball of energy that hadn't been processed. It's just an easy way of talking about it, you know. So so let me I like this definition of fear or a way to think. False evidence appearing. I like that a lot. Because if we use that word, like, what are we actually talking about? Like it's like we're trying to explore today. If I'm in the woods and I don't know, a snake pops out or it's something, I don't know, whatever, and I just take off running, right? You can describe that as fear, I guess. I don't know. The You could also say the urge for life. I don't know, man. It's a mechanical activation. The body activates, and there's adrenaline, and there's no real thought. If you get what I mean, you're just moving.
Yeah,
So you can
totally
call it
instinctive.
fear.
Lots
Yeah,
of chemicals
yeah,
occurring, and it's
yeah.
from the
But
tiger, right? It's from when we were
well, I don't. Whatever. It just is sure. But I
just from
mean, it's the way that our system works. Life
yeah,
wants to life.
right.
You know.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can witness that everywhere. So what do we? So then fear. Fear, what do I mean by false evidence appearing real? Right. So a really simple way of talking about it is that most of us actually confuse thoughts and feelings on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So meaning like when you say the fear of judgment, that's that's a that's a really conceptual phrase. Do you see what I mean?
Mhm.
Right? And really it's just like a tense, uncomfortable feeling around the idea of somebody else's interiority.
Mhm.
Do you see what I mean by that?
It's so easy to this is a side note. It's so easy to describe that way, but it's so hard to not be affected by it.
It's hard to see it while it's occurring for ourselves. It's just a very, very, very difficult thing to identify because it's sneaky, right? Like, why do we even have to? Fear of judgment. Okay, well that's fine, but see that's describing something outside of me. Fear of judgment. Well, that's not. You mean? Are you saying fear of some imaginary idea inside of me? What are you talking? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it goes on. Fear of failure or rejection or looking stupid, all that's happening outside of us.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's happening somewhere else.
Yeah.
I mean the the thoughts are there, the imagination is there, projecting uh into the future, but that's not. But that's somewhere else. That's not what's happening right now. right? So
Mhm.
that's what I mean. Really, what's going on is that uh, without knowing it, we have a really difficult time differentiating between thoughts and feelings. We're not great at it.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'll be talking all the time. You're like, "Yeah, yeah, it's just you're just thinking."
yeah, yeah. It's like a perspective. It's an opinion, is a way of talking
Mhm,
about it, right? So
mhm.
really, the fundamental fear that kind of starts it all is fear of the body, fear of feelings, fear of energy, fear of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's just not a dimension of our experience that we're familiar with.
And I wonder if that is just a thought. I wonder if that stems from the I don't know. I wonder why that's all why it's so embedded in us. Does it stem from fear of being eliminated from the society, which, being an outcast would have killed us at one point? Is there thing because it's almost
Oh,
always
do you mean, are you
subconsciously.
sort of asking the question why it might work that way kind of thing?
Yeah, why I mean,
Yeah, I got
because
you. I
it's
got you. I got you.
and I understand, I was about to write this down, but going back to what you said a minute ago, where, we're we're all needing to operate now, which is, what we're talking about all the time is to get to the now. We're all saddled with our past in ways that, and I think I can put this together. We're saddled by our past. By the time we're 7, when our beliefs are pretty much set, or how we're going to feel about things. A lot of that's in place already at 7, and then we stack on top of that as we move forward, either affirming it or oh, maybe some changes, shifts occur. Hormones begin, all blah blah blah. Right. So then we get to today, and I'm trying not to be worried about these things you're talking about, like judgment and embarrassment, all these things that really drive our journey here. Um, and that turns into fear, which is uh, using all the stuff that we brought with us from yesteryear to put out in front of us, creating this
Yeah,
overthinking
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
procrastinating
yeah.
and waiting for the right time and explaining all this shit. So the key, I think, is we got to be able to, and I know we work on this a lot. The key is to let that go. And I know we've spent whole shows on this stuff. I'm not trying to go through all that, but letting that go, putting it down, and not letting it, as best you can, really be the driver of what's happening right now
Yeah,
in your reaction and stuff, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then you
That's
can
the
start
idea.
saying, well, hey, hold on a second, I'm projecting that,
Yeah.
and so I say
Like
all that to say,
letting go of what too though, right? Like a story.
yeah,
Do you see what I'm saying? Letting go, but then so we're actually letting go of a thought. You get what I'm trying to say? If you really distill it down, now that thought will be in the shape of a interpretation or story or something. You know what I'm trying to say? And so
mhm.
that's that's really what makes it tricky because
I
it's very convincing.
and I'm pretty sure I go through our beliefs in my book about how this happens and how they're really driving us, and an understanding of that, at least, is a starting point to
Yeah,
understanding how I feel right now. Again, if you could bring it back to now and just, I'm okay where I'm sitting, I'm okay, I'm not in any danger, I've got food and water, shelter, family's okay. Like, you can really ground yourself and get away from I started learning how to do it after panic attacks. But anyway,
yeah, yeah.
fear comes in. We got to let all these things go.
So let's say it again: false evidence appearing real. So now let me say what makes that how let me try to talk about how it links to when I refer to the past for us, I'm referring to energy. It sounds crazy. I don't know, it's not like I grew up thinking that. You know what I mean? It wasn't until I got and it was 15 years into my profession before I really started learning about this stuff, you know what I mean? And so you can just really think about the past being unprocessed energy. And the way that it operates today is a lack of relationship with energy, a very limited understanding and relationship with emotions, energy, right? Same thing. Just because we've sort of been disconnected from that dimension of our experience for a really long time. And nobody gave us the information.
Yeah, we don't know anything about it, so
We
it's so
have
foreign.
no clue yet, right?
Yeah.
Uh, so, none of us, or most of us don't really have an idea of what's going on, right? But there are uh, places around the world that talk about the past being stored energy, and now in the modern somatic world, the body world, trauma world, somatic world, right? It will. They'll also refer to the past being unprocessed. Well, unprocessed what? Unprocessed energy.
Yeah, which we've defined with the body keeps a score and all that, right?
Now the body, yeah. Now the way that the body keeps the score, or let's, I mean, you can just. It's obviously a really extensive topic, but like, the way that I would generalize it is that it creates a sense of disconnection internally for us, right? So these are just some examples. So it creates a lack of communication between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. And the right hemisphere is really primarily about feeling, right? Um, it limits the communication between the prefrontal cortex and limbic system, amygdala. Chronic stress and tension actually shrink the hippocampus and the cerebellum. It cha it change it the stress we experience and tension we feel, and the way we're unable to process what we're experiencing and express ourselves openly, right? Uh, it changes the way our hormones operate. It alters the way our nervous system operates. Most of us are familiar with it now as like it puts us in a survival state on a regular basis. But we don't really understand why and how being in our head so much is directly tied to the nervous system, which is directly tied to the past. Most of it, we're not really aware of that, right? So the body is sort of disconnected, right? It also has a sort of rigid neurological wiring, right? And the wiring, the rigid neurological wiring is related to sensations in the body. So we really get kind of allergic to energy that we're experiencing. We really get afraid of our own body, really is the way of talking about it, right? Yeah, we just don't have any context for it.
Yeah, well, we've spent all this time trying to adapt to that, and I think the body's just figure out a way to just ignore it, which is we just won't pay attention to that.
Yeah.
It's
And you
it's
and you
uncomfortable.
yeah, well, and you asked a question a while ago. The deepest way that I would answer why it's the way that it is, and then there's this process of learning to feel again and getting back connected to the body and healing the nervous system, is because that it actually involves coming to the deepest truths about ourselves, what way beyond anything we could even imagine. And we're just not familiar with it, with that being with the past and the nervous system and stuff. We're not familiar with it being related to the deepest questions we could ask, right? It's not something super familiar with us. So the reason, the why is that, well, when you start moving in that moving in that direction, then I don't, everything's likely to change.
Oh, it does change. We both experienced it. Uh, the unfamiliarity is a lot of my mission is to get others just realize that you're just surviving. Yeah, and there's no fucking way that you're ever gonna find true peace and happiness. That you could have all the money in the world, you're gonna be miserable. I know you don't wanna hear that right now because 'cause you're struggling to pay your bills, but it's the truth, and it's you just know it's the truth because you don't, "Oh, I've got all the money I could ever need." Now all of a sudden, I don't have all this baggage on me, and I'm not surviving, I'm not just trying to get through. It's not the surviving paying the electric company and the water company that has you feeling the way you feel. That is a symptom. It is a result of a bunch of different circumstances that have come together in our lives that have us in positions like that. But the feelings, until we understand that we're a bird hitting a window that never got up and shook off, we're just not going to be able to figure it out because it's you're unable to let the new shit come through, as you put it. It's to let the energy come in, flow through you, and let it go. Think a bad event, a negative event happens, and you have feelings about it. You experience them, you acknowledge them, and then you step forward into the next moment of your life. And instead, what we do is we lock up like the bird that hit the window, and we never unlock, we never shake off. And then we do the next day and we hit the window again and we lock up and we just do that over and over and over
It
until
just
our body
stacks
says,
up.
all right, we're going to pay attention to something else. So then we find ourselves older, like, what the fuck's wrong with me? Why do I feel, I love this woman and we're happy and the kids are healthy and I've got a good job and I'm still feel like I'm stuck. That's what we're talking about. And just my first step was, well, there was several of them, but my first thing was to just to learn, to identify, and then to learn to look at the guy in the mirror. A, to tell him that I love him a lot and he's worth fighting for, and B, to say you're in control of the whole situation that where you find yourself. And if you want it to change, you've got to change, and that gets this ball rolling. It's a big thing. It's all simple principles, but very difficult to implement. To Jason's point, because we don't even know what the hell we're doing and what we're talking about. It's foreign to us. Then we get into it. Body naturally wants to dodge discomfort. It's the body wants to stay in a comfort spot. So it's like, ooh, that's not comfortable, and that's going to urge you to not do it. But when you come out the other side, it's it's liberating, um, and, I don't I guess awakened,
Gradually, in a way,
you
it
do
can
it
be,
is it's been very it is, it's like, and then all of a sudden you look and you say, "Oh, I feel different about
yeah, yeah.
life in general."
Yeah, something just doesn't get you the way that it normally would, is generally how it's experienced, right? That's what I mean by lighter, like we were sort of
It's, the analogy of, Michael Jordan playing basketball. The shit just slows down for him,
yeah,
and
that's yeah.
when you
Yeah,
figure
yeah, 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 yeah,
when
that's a
you
good way
learn
to
this,
yeah,
shit slows down. You go, "Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Why am I yelling at some total fucking stranger in a car next to me because he did
yeah,
something stupid? What am I doing?" I'm getting all riled up. I stop and think, "What? I'm standing on 2 feet. I'm good. All is good. Why am I freaking the fuck out?"
yeah,
All of
yeah, yeah,
these things, that's all part of it, and the game slows down for us. Whereas when fear's winning, we're missing opportunities, we get stagnant, have regret, loss of confidence, and then the self, doubt starts to creep in. And, fears are usually don't happen. When they do, they're not as bad as we expect.
Are
And
you
we
talking
figure
about
out we can,
what we fear? You like
yeah.
what we're
Yeah,
imagining?
all the
Yeah,
things. It doesn't end up happening, and it's to your point, it exaggerates what the outcome's actually gonna be. And, look, I'm when we didn't have a deceased child, we had children, my ex-wife and I, and we would lightly discuss, we wouldn't get in heavy discussions or spend exuberant amount of time on it, but what would happen if we lost one of our children? And you begin to, well, we in the somewhere in your head, you're doing safety shit, right? Um,
preservation.
Yeah, and then we start drawing our back go back to that list I just read, that shit starts happening. And I'll tell you right now, didn't any of that do any fucking good when the shit went down. None of it. It had nothing to do, nothing we had prepared for what got us there. Uh, there's no, you don't get ready for anything like that. You can't prep. You can't go through enough devastating shit for that to happen. And then you'd be like, oh, that wasn't that bad. So the other side of fear will drive you and handicap you is is just a waste of time. We don't know. We got to wait till we get to the outcome. And when we get there, if we're standing next to the snake that Jason, which is one of my phobias, we're standing next to that snake and we get scared. All right. But we can't
Yeah.
not go on the hike
Let
because we're
me
worried that a snake could be there.
Yeah, true, true. There's a phrase that popped in my mind. Yeah, it will, people will bring it up a lot, and it's by Carl Jung, and I don't, I'm going to paraphrase, but it's something like, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate, right?
Fate.
So, fate. Yeah. So let me maybe touch into that for a second. Yeah, manifestation, So there does seem to be a rule here, like a law, what you give out.
Hmm.
So as you were talking, I have this little person drawn on my paper with like these sort of thunder clouds and lightning bolts all coming out all around them, right? So uh, if a human is agitated or consistently in their head, and then another character walks into that field because that agitation and that being in the head, that self-consciousness and all that, so it literally sort of acts like little lightning bolts popping off. And so then other characters, if they're in that field, are gonna, unless they're aware of how to not do it or how to not let it influence their experience, which is more rare, but nevertheless, it's going to affect. And for most of it, it's going to, we're going to walk into that, experience that agitation, and not really know why and what's going on. And so it's all happening in the unconscious. It's all happening outside of our, well, we can't see it. And all that mental activity and that all that thought, all that projecting into the future, that's creating all those lightning balls or lightning bolts off that character, and it's specifically related to the past. And when that word unconscious is used, one dimension of it is just it's really referring to the past. It's just what's operating outside of our conscious awareness. So another way to say it is what we're feeling. You know what I mean, right? What we're giving off when we're in the presence of another person. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, most of our focus is often on like, it can be on like what they're thinking about, like you said, judgment, right? Like them, right? Rather than something coming off to us, right? And us giving something to them, right? We don't really know it. We're not conscious of it, but we need something.
Go further on, make
If really the fear of judgment is the lack of self-love.
so desire to get love from somebody else, and when you because you
But
don't have it
yeah,
yourself.
yeah, well, and it's really we're unfamiliar with how to relax, and so we're used to things out here having to relax us or not. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, we focused a lot on that moving through this season about our focus on it. It's been driven to be on external factors.
Yeah. And that's operating way outside of our awareness. It's not something when
Hmm.
I go in, um when I was putting together the workbook for the emotional intelligence workshop, when I got to the section, and it would typically be a part of any kind of emotional intelligence workshop, that and any kind of system, be self awareness, right? But when I go in there, I say to people, look, in all in reality, that word self, that is the deepest word that we could even begin to think about in all of our experiences. It doesn't matter who you are. And that's like a lifelong process, right? So, actually, what we're talking about is learning to be more aware of thoughts and sensations, thoughts and feelings. To be more specific, do you see what I'm trying to say?
Mhm.
And if you want to know more of who you are, right, it makes sense. If you really are, if you do the work to be more in your body, more aware of feelings, which is healing the nervous system, right? That's automatically healing the past. That's automatically starting to help the past process through. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And one of the things that is a part of the past for us is really distorted ideas about ourselves, really fucked up ideas, right? So that's also what starts to process through. So, a way of saying it is, well, if you want to really know yourself and get more clarity, you got to integrate the past. You got to process the past to help you see more clearly see yourself, right? Because the past and the unprocessed things and the memories that still come around with us that are charged and the things that haunt us, that they're they're not what we think they are. You see what I'm trying to say? And what we experienced was not what we thought it was. Not that it wasn't horrifically painful. There's just more to the story. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Very much so. I think, um, and again, in the book, that's why I lay out kind of my whole it's a lot biography because uh, I feel like Joel's death was the catalyst that sent me on this part of the journey, and but through that, I've been dealing with the shit I went through as a child, and that healing, and I did get some more clarity and through all the process, I learned more about, things that actually occurred, and then I live my life, and I've gone through some, oh, now I have a little more understanding of how that could happen. Mm. And so that is really what happened. I don't think that you heal from a kid dying. So I'm not really seeking to do that. And I spent probably 150 hours sitting on couches, talking to therapists. Didn't spend a whole lot of time talking about Joel dying because you just that's a really tough fucking spot to be in. And you're just not really going to overcome that. You learn all that I have learned as a result of it, and you can then be okay with the event occurring. But it's not. I mean, I'm about to start crying right now because it's so hard to just even go to that spot. But it's okay, and we can live through it. And it's not that I've just shoved it down. I have not done that. I did, but I've I've gone back through some of the emotions and felt, to Jason's point, let a lot of the energy out. And I think a lot doing the show, writing the book, hopefully getting on stage someday. That's some of that energy coming out of me that got pent up as a result of Joel. But I couldn't be where I am without learning about. And Jason puts it throughout the show. He'll put it in really good ways on how we can kind of deal with those things without actually having to go back through terrible, whether it was abusive events through in a childhood, sexual, physical, mental, whatever they are, where you don't have to just completely fucking relive that awful uh, exact things, but understanding what comes with it as a result and how that can then be a driver in where we are today. And way deeper than, um, you know, just the assailant, whoever that is in this abuse scenario I'm talking about. But in mine, where there was no father in the home, and mom's gone, which is just the typical Gen X story. And we don't understand how the where are our parents? And, why aren't they here? And with all the shit that goes
Yeah.
with that
The
then,
last few kids.
the
Yeah, that's
hugs, the
wild.
pats yeah, the hugs and the pats on the back and the attaboys and
Yeah,
I love you just because you woke up this morning and all those things that aren't happening when mom and or dad, if both there are gone when you get up and ain't there when you get back from school, like, you're just like, and then later you're thinking, Why do I feel this way? Why do I never feel like I'm enough? What
yeah.
what you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
it's, yeah,
There
it's,
wasn't nobody there to
shocking.
tell you. Yeah, there was nobody there to tell you were, and it's not, not mad at my mom or my dad. Again, go into it in depth in the book. It
It's
is. I wouldn't
just
be.
what
It,
happens.
it's just what happened. I get it. I'm totally understanding. I love them both. Um, and I think, obviously our relationships could be far better, but, I love them both and I'm not mad at them. And, but I understand me now a lot better than I did because I've just went back and said, "Oh, well, little kid, little hurt kid me feels like this is how, because if your mom and dad will do it, then anybody will do it, right? So then that's how I navigated the world and just lashing out and afraid all the goddamn time. So when Jason brings it together, he'll bring it together for me in real time on these shows because I'll get away from it and not understand it. And it's because I'm not in a place, and it probably helps being on the outside listening, looking at me. It's easier to see it than it is in self. But all this shit
I'm
coming.
describing the same thing. If I also have an experience that I would classify as false evidence appearing real, it is a thought that I believed and I don't even recognize that I believed it, if that makes any sense. I don't even recognize it. It's so subtle.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and then
Whatever it might be. Yep, yep.
in hindsight, after you begin to feel whatever
Yeah,
the feel
when you start to come down a little bit, really is the way I would say it. You start to come down a little bit. There's a little bit more clarity.
yeah. See,
Yeah.
I'm still in that in the phase where I've gotta stop and say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, why are we feeling this way?" And that means some shit's already happened subconsciously, some pins have already fallen, dominoes have already fallen.
Yeah.
I can stop it way sooner now than I
Yeah.
used to, be able to, but it's still "Oh, hold on a second, this shouldn't
Yeah.
even be happening right now.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah.
feel like this."
To stop it in its to be able to stop it in its tracks is really what it's about.
Yeah, I just gotta get a hold on things, or just gotta recenter,
Yeah.
get back.
But that's a neurophysiological capacity. That's not something we could just like decide to do in many ways. It's or let's put it this way. If we go through something extremely devastating, it will typically open up deeper realms of being able to process and know what we feel. Stay present, access this sort of compassionate space. Uh, now, then there's the typical like ongoing living process of learning how to be present with what we're feeling, right? Like as it's happening. You know what I'm trying to say? And
Mhm.
yeah, and that's just like a developmental process of being able to stop that sort of agitation in its tracks, like you're describing. Like hold up, oh
Yeah.
yeah, amen. And yeah, that's just hard to do.
Yeah, there's a lot of work going into that.
Yeah,
Lot
yeah,
lot of time spent some feelings that didn't fail, if I had maybe failed and the work didn't help. So kinda pushing through, if you can stop yourself in a moment of, uh, discomfort or putting things off, things like this, some of these
and let's
signals
put it
we've
this way.
told
I
you.
like to say this. Hold on, you just made me think of something. Let's say, boom, there you are, bam, discomfort, okay, or agitation. Just think this. In that space, it's really about the past in many ways. Okay, and literally in that space, an agitated space, resentful, whatever it is, uh, there's certain dimensions of our system that are online, like the prefrontal cortex, rational thing. So if you calm the system down first, there's more there's like more availability to our whole system. You see what I mean? Yeah, sorry, I don't know. I just that's what
Yeah,
I'm
well,
kind of
yeah, and so if you take a deep breath and what am I afraid of? What's going on? It's got me what's this agitation stemming from? Okay, that's probably it's not probably, it's a fear. I'm afraid something's gonna happen. What is it? If that happens, am I gonna be able to handle it? All right, well, let's press forward because that's where the shit starts. And we say, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And we stop and then we just added it to the rest of the unprocessed shit we're dealing with, which is another thing on there. So fear can signal something as important is happening. It can tell us something's happening here. And so instead of looking at it as I'm scared, just look at it as this is something that really matters and, give it your attention and, you know, chill the fuck out. If it's something that's way off in the future and not the snake right in front of you, either way, you need to chill out. But if it's in the future, make sure you're planned and good to go and then get back to right in front of you. If it's a snake sitting right in front of you, take a deep breath so that you can make an appropriate action and
a
and
more
not,
informed
yeah,
decision is a
more
good
informed
way.
decision.
Yeah.
To Jason's point, you dumped all these chemicals all of a sudden, and all in my mind, all I they do is scream. I don't know. I lock up when I see them, so I know I
Yeah.
wouldn't run. I'd just scream,
Ah, yeah, I know they're not.
"Carry me,
They're
save me!" So
yeah.
anyway, in closing, fear isn't something that we're just going to get rid of. It's something that we're going to have to learn to move through. And the longer we wait for it to go away, the longer we're just going to stay where we are. And the people who move forward in life, they aren't fearless. They just don't let fear make their decisions. And so the next time you feel it, don't see it as a stop sign. See it as a signal that you're on the edge of something that matters. Most people aren't stuck because they're lazy. They're stuck because they're scared. And if we can, that is a great way to see that you are in control of what's occurring. Is you're not stuck because you're lazy and you know you're not lazy. It's because you're scared. Well, I'm not scared either. Well, all right, tough guy. Let's sit down and boil it down because you are scared of something. We all are. And again, to Jason's points, because we hadn't processed some things, it comes from a place not that you're controlling with your toughness, whether that's, you're highly skilled at defending self as a warrior in the military, or you're, strong and you can fight. Any of these things, you're not. This is not the fear we're talking about, and you are afraid of things. And so figuring that it can really get you uh, a long way. But there's a lot of layers to it. So hopefully we've done a good job kind of breaking this down and explaining it to you. If you enjoyed this podcast, please like, follow, and share wherever you're listening and watching. Doing so helps us reach more men who could be positively impacted by this material. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and all the socials under Guys Dealings with Feelings. And as always, we thank you for giving us your time, which is your most valuable asset. Until next time, stay in the fight. The world is a much better place with you in.